It's time to find out about numbers. Find out about numbers. And let's go to our friend at Sportico and find out how he came up with all of the math. And the man has survived his train ride in. He is locked in. Kurt, thanks for dropping by and helping us with the math on this bad boy.
Yeah, a lot of numbers here, a lot of numbers, yeah, I think a lot of takeaways from MLS, which is a league that I find talking to people in the business community is quite polarizing on how you feel about this league, and I think that shows up in the valuations that we had. We had franchises going down, franchises at the top soaring over the $1 billion valuation level. Yeah, lot of big changes coming to MLS over the next 3 years. That's for sure.
I feel like I should be like the match game in Gene Rayburn. How polarizing was it? One of those kinds of things. So in your research, how polarizing were the thoughts about where MLS is? Because in the valuations, some folks are up 6%, league up 14% on the whole. How polarizing was it? He asked.
Yeah, we had the league up 6% on a whole, which again is, but yeah, a handful of clubs up double digits, and then a handful down, which we haven't seen traditionally with North American sports teams over the last decade or so. I mean, because what we've seen is an absolute explosion in valuations in the NFL, NBA, NHL, WNBA, and WSL. I'm leaving Major League Baseball out because they are going through some tricky economic times right now, to use a euphemism, I guess, as the RSN model absolutely melts down. And so MLS doesn't have to worry about that because obviously everything streams through Apple. And so that deal, which was originally kind of painted as this, oh my gosh, we're partnering with the biggest company in the world and most valuable company in the world, and they're going to send us into the stratosphere. Obviously, has not gone as planned with the double paywall. Haven't hit the targets that would kick off the revenue sharing model for clubs, and so teams are still, barely, and because they cover production costs, barely netting a few $1,000,000 per club. And that's hard to support yourself. You think about Premier League clubs, everybody's getting over $100 million, even the team that finishes 20th in the table. And North American sports leagues, hockey, is the closest comp in terms of media proposition, and those clubs are getting $40 million a deal, $40 million per club with the next Canadian TV deal, plus the U.S. deal. So what we've seen is a lot of excitement at the top of the financial table. Inter Miami, as in a whole nother stratosphere. New buildings coming in Miami, as well as NYCFC, Chicago. One of the biggest challenges for MLS, we've seen a lot of success with the expansion markets and some of these expansion teams in some of these smaller markets and mid-sized markets in Austin, Columbus, Cincinnati. But the big market clubs have held this league back outside of LA. Chicago, has been searching for a venue situation for years. NYCFC, since they came into the league, has been trying to figure out their stadium. So those two are on track. Miami obviously is opening this year. Some traction in New England on getting a new building there. So there's a lot to point to in terms of local markets that are having success. But in terms of evaluations overall, you have two clubs that are on the market right now trying to find new control owners, Vancouver, San Jose. And both processes haven't been great. You haven't had really, nobody's stepped up, and Axel Schuster, laid all the cards on the table in Vancouver about how grim the process has been, and said, not one person wants to invest by 1% of this club. Of all the people that have looked, 30, 40 people have signed NDAs to look at the numbers, and nobody wants to buy 1%. So that's pretty damning if you think about those clubs at the bottom of the financial table.
Yeah, and with Vancouver, they're looking to build their own barn. The city is trying to sit there and say, "Hey, look, we'll kick you back these kinds of things," and it ends up, I think, being like $1.5 million across the board. and that might help you out in securing a player and making sure that you get a little bit of payroll, but that really doesn't help you in the overall. And this is a club that's been on the market, I think, for close to 18 months. And they're looking at Hastings Park right now. They want to be in control of their own revenue streams. I know that you and I, outside of today, probably could have our own hour in discussing everything else that's going on in Major League Soccer. When it comes to the parameters and the equations to set up your math and your evaluations, for those that haven't had the chance to dive into the survey, how does the math work when it comes to what Sportico did?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I did this at Forbes for 22 years, and before that, valuing club sports teams at a place called Financial World in the mid '90s, late '90s. And so this isn't a perfect science. We are in the same way. You don't know for sure what somebody's going to buy for your pay for your house. You don't know for sure what somebody's going to pay for a sports team until the deal is done. And there aren't a lot of data points. You might have dozens of houses sold in your neighborhood, but until Utah sold last year, it had been more than 3 years since a MLS franchise had sold. In terms of control stake, new control owner coming in, calling the shots. We've seen lots of clubs sell slivers of teams, either to fund new new facilities, investments, cover losses. People take money off the table, all different reasons for LP stake sales. And so the way we approach this is to look at revenue multiples and assign those to revenues. That's traditionally how sports teams, whether you're talking about the NFL, NBA, Major League Soccer, Real Madrid, Premier League clubs, that's how bankers, investors look at sports teams. And the reason why they looked at revenue multiples is because traditionally these teams lost money. So while the stock market, we look at earnings and price to earnings ratio, they don't do that in sports because often the earnings number is zero or negative. So in the same way that when we had the NASDAQ bubble in the late 1990s and Pets.com and all these other internet companies were worth billions of dollars. They looked at multiples of revenue because there was no earnings there. We do the same thing with sports teams. So MLS, there was so much excitement. If you go back 4 years ago, World Cup was coming. We're getting a new big media deal that everybody thought was going to be huge. There was a lot of excitement. MLS clubs were actually trading at higher revenue multiples than NBA, NFL, basically any sports league in the world. And what we've seen over time is those revenue multiples have been dialed back. Part of it is they've grown into the valuation, revenues have increased, but part of it is some of the excitement has certainly died down when you think about investing in MLS because there's a bit of arguably a rocky road ahead. With nobody knows what the next media deal is going to look like, and so we value MLS clubs at an average of about 9 times revenue. And so what we look at is local revenue, and what we look at is our comps. Again, I said there's not a lot of comps out there, but Utah sold last year. Our reporting found the total deal was $580 million. $480 million of that was for the MLS club. $100 million of that was assigned to the NWSL club in the deal. We just had a trade in Kansas City, Sporting Kansas City, where a minority owner took over. So that was 700-ish. These numbers are a little fudgy sometimes. There's a buyer number and a seller number offered in terms of how you calculate it. But again, when you look at San Jose, we have the value of that going down, and again, it's still probably out kicks its revenue because it's in the Bay Area, and there are so many rich people in Northern California that you would expect one of them, once the price gets to a certain point, to step up and say, I want to own a sports team, and this is my entree, because the Golden State Warriors are going to cost you $11 billion, $12 billion. San Francisco 49ers are selling pieces for more than $9 billion. So MLS gives you a way into being a sports team owner for that next group of people that aren't worth $1, $2, $10 billion.
Yeah, I was going to say, as long as you don't mention John Fisher in a sentence to some folks in the Bay Area, Hey, did you know that? Hey, did you know the owner of San Jose is John Fisher? Buzzers go off and everything like that. So, would you view MLS when it comes to prices and prospective ownership? Because obviously you look at Vancouver right now. You've got them at 153 of 154, next to last in MLS at 450. You've got you mentioned the Revs and their new building, and you mentioned RSL with their flip. San Jose is 368, so 22nd or 23rd. I forget what my math is out of 30. They're at just under 600. You had new ownership take over a handful of years ago in Houston. Minnesota is going to be investing in James Rodriguez to a certain extent. Nashville's bringing in folks. St. Louis, I feel like with them in caps, I feel like you need to go St. Louis City SC at 675. Is Major League Soccer, in your view, still a growth market when it comes to diving in and understanding what the franchise values can be, or is it leveling off in your mind when it comes to a jumping in point for ownership these days?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, if you look at the growth over the last few years, I was up 6% this year, up 6% last year. You look at that compared to the NFL, NBA, those teams, those leagues have been growing 20, 30% annually over the last few years. So if you think about the entry price, there's a lot of people that will look at one of these MLS clubs and say, okay, I can buy an MLS team for 500, $550 million. I can see a path where I double my investment. So that team is worth $1 billion in a way, in a easier way than I'm going to take an NBA team, an NFL team valuation from 9 billion to 18 billion. The problem, there's a couple of problems there. One, the NFL is like a guaranteed dividend stock. You know what your TV rights are going to be. You know a minimum of what your TV rights are going to be through 2032, and you also have the opt out, which is certainly coming. So your TV rights are probably going to be bigger.
Yes.
And those are going to be locked in. And you know you are going to be making money because of the hard cap. You're going to be making, and every team's going to be making $100 million, and a lot of teams are going to be making more than $200 million as an NFL team. MLS, there's a lot of uncertainty ahead. Earlier opt out with the Apple deal. What does that mean? Suddenly everybody going to be banging down the door to get in on MLS when that deal expires in 2029. I don't know. I mean, we will see. There's some optimism there that with the star power coming into the league, that media properties will jump in MLS. But again, a lot of people are talking about we got to cut back in other areas to save money for the NFL. Fox has been very clear that if they have to pair their other sports properties so that they can save money for the NFL, they're going to do it because they need to be in the NFL business, and that's going to be expensive. So again, and you're going to lose money probably owning an MLS team too, which is different. Almost all of them are losing money, which is not any different than the Premier League or most other global soccer clubs. They are cash flow negative. So there is uncertainty there, but again, there is a path. We've seen this local markets that have had tremendous success as ticketing and sponsorship businesses. I mean, if you think about Inter Miami, they're going to do more than, they're projecting $250 million in ticketing and sponsorship revenue in the new building, or about $230 million in ticketing and sponsorship revenue. That's more than 3/4 of NBA teams.
Mm-hmm.
That's more than half the NFL. But of course, the component they're missing is TV. So there's not a check coming from the league, which differentiates MLS from those other major North American sports leagues or the Premier League or La Liga. They really need to figure out the TV or the media component.
And there's also going to be an individual, unless you can cryogenically freeze his abilities, that once number 10 decides he's going to hang it up, what do you do for an encore to keep that momentum in that building, which I still maintain is undersized for what MLS needs to be, even though I know you can't build it high because then planes will hit it as they're going into the airport. Two surprises for me in the top 10.
Yep.
And one of them you got into because of the new blood that's attached. San Diego FC, they got the win last night. They're going into the Sweet 16 in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. San Diego coming in at 765, and Austin coming in at 910. That one was a big stunner for me. What is it about Austin, Texas? Was Anthony Precourt correct all along?
There's a lot to like with Austin. I mean, they raised money last year around at over $900 million. Again, it's not a perfect translation from a limited partner transaction to a control sale, but a couple things they have going for them. One, it's the club has hit the ground running since it entered MLS. Sold out every single game. Has opportunity to expand the stadium and generate more revenue. Revenue's top 10 in the league. There is a lot of money in Austin right now, and more money coming into Austin right now. So that gives a lot of opportunity in terms of pricing power when you think about on the individual side and then on corporate side, because so many businesses are moving to Texas, and Austin is the center of the tech movement in Texas. So there's a lot to like in Austin, and it's the only game in town. I mean, you have UT football, so that's probably number 1, 2, and 3 when you think about sports in
Yeah, but
Austin.
good luck getting a ticket to get into DKR, man. I mean, come on now.
But in terms of professional sports, Austin right now is again the only game in town. So they've done extremely well on the business side.
For those that don't know where to grab this survey, because it's always great to punch the numbers out, where can folks go and find your information and your math to dig into what you found out about Major League Soccer? Hit the promo for me.
Yeah, Sportico.com. You can find all of the MLS stuff, plus all of our sports business coverage over the last 5 years since we launched, and certainly on Twitter, LinkedIn. You can find me at K Badenhausen, as well as Sportico's. We've got great data visualization guy who presents the data. Guys, I've been doing this 25 plus years, and all these people say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe the stuff you're doing now is so good." I said, "Well, I've been doing the same thing, but we have a guy who presents it in an extremely engaging way." With different kinds of visualization. So you can find all those too on Sportico, as well as on our social media feeds.
Love your work, love your math, and it was a slam dunk for me to reach out to you once the numbers came back out, and I'm glad that we were able to do this on the hop. Kurt, you are the man, and we will be knocking on your door soon, especially when we have math questions, because I suck at math. And I need to come and consult a mathematical oracle when it comes to sports and franchises. Thanks for dropping by on short notice. We really appreciate it. Love the survey.
Thanks, John. I'm your math guy. Any questions, come to me. I got you.
Beautiful. I love it. Go get your caffeine. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
And there goes Kurt Badenhausen. That was cool. I mean, literally, I reached out to him yesterday, and I'm like, hey, dude. I didn't actually say dude. I said, hey, Kurt. I mean, I didn't dude him immediately. But no, it was great to catch up with Kurt and get those numbers, and we'll go over those numbers kind of leading into the season. And if there's anything economic, we're going to catch up with Kurt, and we'll find out what's going on with him.